Hello YouTube, my name is Nero, and today we have some Call of Duty 4. You may be wondering what's happening on the screen right now. So this gameplay was recorded, I'm going to say a few weeks ago, and I was doing an open lobby with my subscribers. There wasn't a lot of things going on in Call of Duty 4 that night. I've been playing a lot of it lately, and every public match we seemed to get into, there was people hacking in there, and it was just really unenjoyable. I'm like, you know what? We're going to get subscribers in here, we're going to go to a private match, we're going to play some Call of Duty, and we're going to have some fun. So it's in a private match, it's with subscribers, both on my team and on the other team, as well as some friends, both on my team and the other team. And it was pretty fun. It was really enjoyable, got to, talk to people, have fun, and just, it was really fun interacting with people. And open lobbies are fun. I should do more of them more often. But that's the gameplay we got here. And there might be more gameplay to come after it. Don't know how long this video is going to be. Might take me a while, because we have quite the doozy today. So it's well known, and everyone's pretty much aware, that there's going to be a Call of Duty event at the X Games this year, right? This was announced a while back, and I remember getting all these questions about it for Dear Nero, people always wanting to know my opinion, and I didn't think much of it. I really didn't think anything of the idea that there was going to be a Call of Duty event, a competitive Call of Duty MLG event held at the X Games this year. I didn't think anything of it because I assumed it was going to be like every other Call of Duty event. You have your big name teams there, and they're all competing for money, and I figured they would have that as kind of a side attraction to the X Games itself. That was the whole idea of it. Turns out, they're not competing for money at the X Games this year. There will be 8 Call of Duty teams that are going to be playing at the X Games this year, and the winning teams will take home actual X Game medals. Now, the cover on the X Games, if you guys are maybe not from America, or maybe you guys, I don't know how well known the X Games is across the world. The X Games is an annual sporting event that's held every year, and it's controlled by ESPN. Alright, the event itself focuses on extreme sports, including skateboarding, and snowboarding, and motocross, BMX, I don't know, anything really, off-road trucking. There's so many different events. They're all different kinds of extreme sports are held here. People compete against each other and they try for medals, right? This year, Call of Duty people are going to be at the X Games competing in a Call of Duty competition for the exact same medals that those actual athletes are going to be competing for, and it's despicable in my mind. I didn't realize this until today when the X Games tweeted out a picture of the medals, and it was retweeted by a YouTuber. And then I'm like, wait, are the gamers competing for those medals? And he's like, yeah, they are. I'm like, people have literally died competing in the X Games. Well, one person actually. One person in particular, he was trying a backflip on his snowmobile. He ended up crashing and was rushed to a local hospital and died shortly after from complications from the injury. It's called extreme sports for a reason. It's very dangerous, the things they do at the X Games. And to me, it's despicable that people that are doing that, people that are up there doing backflips on snowmobiles, they are doing flares, going up vert ramps on their BMX bikes, doing flares, backflips 20 feet in the air, are competing for the exact same hardware that people playing video games. It undermines the entire sport to me. It undermines what the athletes themselves have been training and competing for their entire lives. People have been crippled and in that case even died in pursuit of X Games gold, and now Call of Duty players can just come in, sit in a chair, and win the exact same medals that so many other people have sacrificed their own health in pursuit of. It doesn't make sense to me. It does not make any sense to me why this is a thing. It's kind of obvious though. It's a marketing ploy. It's a marketing gimmick to attract more viewers to the X Games. The X Games and gaming, they share a pretty similar demographic. Usually men between the ages of 13 to 21. They're all interested in music, video games, and sports, right? They have the same demographic. Of course, they want to have a Call of Duty event at the X Games. It's going to attract a lot more people, and it's going to be a big deal, especially because we're on the internet here, we're in gaming, and anything that happens in gaming seems to blow up. Right? It makes a lot of sense for them to have that competition. But why is it that they're competing for the exact same medals that people that are out there risking their lives are competing for? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's a sport. There's a difference between esports and real sports. If you look at the definition of a sport, it is an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. Now, it's pretty similar. I'll say that playing Call of Duty competitively, having a Call of Duty tournament, in an actual sporting event are pretty similar. The only real difference in a Call of Duty event and an actual sporting event is the actual physical activity that's happening at the sporting event. To call Call of Duty a sport is to call singing a sport, or playing in the band a sport, or gardening, or painting, or photography a sport. Just because it's a competition does not mean it should be called a sport. Just because people are there to watch you compete does not validate it as a sport. It validates it as a competition, and there's a very thin yet distinctive line that needs to be drawn between the two. Regardless of that, it's insulting to the real athletes out there that are sharing the spotlight with gamers on a scale the size of the X Games. It's quite literally the equivalent of them having a Madden tournament at the Super Bowl and giving the winners of the Madden tournament actual Super Bowl rings. Things that people have played 20 years, have 20-year careers for, in pursuit of these Super Bowl rings, trying to get them, and not actually winning the Super Bowl. There are so many NFL legends that didn't make it. They didn't make the Super Bowl, or they didn't win the Super Bowl, and they had to end their career that way. And the same goes for the X Games. There's some greats out there that never actually won X Games gold. And there's going to be people this year, this June, that are going to be able to win gold at the X Games by playing Call of Duty, by playing a video game, by sitting in a chair at a sporting event. It's despicable. It makes a mockery of the entire event. It undermines the integrity of the word sport and destroys any legitimate credibility that the X Games had in my mind, which they used to have a whole lot, because growing up, I was the exact same demographic they're looking for. Of course, I'm into gaming now, but growing up, during my early teen years, I watched X Games a lot. I used to watch, Dave Mirra run around. I used to watch Tony Hawk run around. I used to watch Rodney Mullen run around. Rodney Mullen was my favorite because the stuff he does, it's ridiculous. He's not like a vert skater. He's more of a street skater, more of a technical guy. And seriously, watch like a Rodney Mullen montage on YouTube. The stuff he does is freaking ridiculous, but it undermines the entire thing. If you want to have Call of Duty events, that's fine. How you fix this is you come out, if you're X Games, if you want to save your event, if you want to try and save the integrity of the word extreme sports and the integrity of the brand X Games and ESPN, then they need to come out and say, you know what, we made a mistake. Call of Duty players will not be winning medals at this year's X Games. Instead, we've either crowdsourced money to put together a prize pool for the competition, or MLG themselves will fund it, or perhaps ESPN and the X Games themselves will fund it. Gamers should be competing for money at this event, because I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm on YouTube here. I'm a gamer. I understand it. I want more exposure for gaming, and having Call of Duty at the X Games is going to try and solidify gaming a bit more in the public light. It's going to be good for gaming as a whole. But still, I cannot agree with giving medals to Call of Duty players when there's people that have died or crippled themselves. It's ridiculously dangerous what they do at the X Games. Have you guys seen the X Games, what they do at the X? It's ridiculous what they do there. Alright, it's very dangerous. People get crippled all the time. People are hurt all the time. The stuff, they literally death-defying stunts that they do in pursuit of these medals, and people are going to win them for playing video games. It's wrong. It really is wrong. And I would like to see them change it. Well, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. And if you did, please be sure to leave a rating where you guys feel it deserves. I can sense it already, the entire debate in the comments about whether or not Call of Duty should be a sport. It's called an esport. I've gotten to the point where I can accept the word esport. I'll never, ever say that Call of Duty is a sport, or any video game for that matter is a legitimate sport. The same way I'll never say that photography is a sport, or gardening, or any other kind of competition that isn't an actual physical activity. But still, I can feel it. The debates in the comments, I can feel them coming. Well, I guess everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and that's my opinion. But I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. And if you did, please be sure to leave a rating. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day.